as gold in the furnace.
Yeah.
And he tried them and received them as a burnt offering.
There it is. And when you reading that, who are the key figures you think about?
Yep.
Well, the brother mentioned
Yeah.
Eleazar.
Yeah.
Another one
The
was
Maccabees brothers.
Yeah. Ananias, Azarias, Misael.
Abishai, of course.
Antipas.
Yep. Faithful martyr.
The faithful martyrs. Those men. And then you're going to have those the men who were beheaded for the witness of the Lord by having the testimony. Right. And they overcame the beast through the testimony. They didn't worship the image of the beast. Yep. Neither did they receive that mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Right. And those going to be the men who's going to be sitting on thrones, man, ruling in the next world, man. Because they understood the greater good of the future kingdom. What's going to be for eternity. They didn't look to that moment, the now. You know? They didn't think about their belly just right then and there. I got to make a quick decision, man, because I got to eat something.
My belly growling.
You know?
My stomach touching my back.
No, you willing to be a sacrifice unto the Heavenly Father, man. Okay? The Lord said, if you deny me before men, I will deny you before the Father. Yeah. So who you gonna obey? Man? Your government? Sleepy Joe? Or are you gonna obey the Heavenly Father? Which one?
Shouldn't thou rather obey the Father of spirits
and live?
Right. See, I'd rather take a beheading from a smart guillotine than to receive 1,000,000 Fahrenheit from thermonuclear annihilation.
Yeah.
I'll take a decapitation all day. But a nuclear missile, multiple nukes.
No thank you.
No thank you, man.
And then the shame.
Yeah.
That's gonna follow you.
To me, that part's worse.
That's the legacy you leave behind. That's the legacy you leave behind. You know?
I had this real quick because you had mentioned the three holy children. You spoke of Eleazar and all the prophets from before that had to go through the fire, pretty much. This is Romans 15:3. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. So we read these things, and we when the time comes, we're gonna think upon these the actions of the apostles, the three holy children, Daniel, all the prophets, and what they had to go through. You look at all the 12 with the exception of John, they all got a gruesome death. Some of them were filleted. Yep. Some of them were crucified upside down. Yep. They all got terrible deaths.
Stephen was stoned.
Yep, Stephen was stoned. Yep. John the Baptist. Yep. So,
they put Antipas into that
brazen bull.
Yeah.
Put fire to it.
Cooked him in there, man. Cooked him. Basically roasted him.
Yeah.
I had
Quick that.
You got something?
I want to go into the deaths of the prophets. James stabbed with a sword. James and Les stoned to death. Thaddeus filled with arrows. Philip crucified by soldiers. Thomas thrust with a spear.
Yeah, Thaddeus was
Judas. Jude. Said Jude.
Thaddeus and Matthias, right? The lot fell on Matthias.
Oh yeah, Matthias. Yeah.
Thaddeus was next, not the next up, but he was.
He took Judas.
He was a replacement.
Judas.
Yep. Yeah, Matthias took that up.
Matthias crucified in Judea. Andrew crucified on an X-shaped cross. Bartholomew flayed and beheaded. Simon crucified. Matthew stabbed with a sword. John died of natural. We know John died of natural death. They say 100 AD. Peter crucified upside down in 67 AD. Paul beheaded in Rome in 67 AD. So that's just the. This is just the 12 or the with 13 or the main. But all the ones that followed Yahweh Shai, they got put to death. So when we come into this, hey, we know what we signed up for. With some, hey, it's gonna be some brothers that are martyrs, but it's some brothers. Hey, Yahweh Shai said it's some of you that won't see death. So we believe that. Like, hey, I may be one of those that make it onto those ships, that go through the fire and come out. And a lot of them, I don't know, but we say a lot of us are going to make it on those ships. You know, but we know it's going to be martyrs, but it's going to be more people that make it than it is going to be martyrs.
Yeah, the martyr's going to be on the ship before.
Yeah,
going to be on the ship before the living elect.
That's right.
I'll grab that point when we were talking about the three holy children, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And a key point of that was after they went through the fire, because let me read this precept, then I'll read that point. Sirach 2 and verse 5, it says, "For gold is tried in the fire." We were talking about from the precept you read about the gold, right? It said, "And acceptable men in the furnace of adversity," right? And so they literally were put in the fire and persevered through that, through the power of Yahweh Shai. So I'm going to pick up at verse 22, matter of fact 21, in Daniel the 3rd chapter. It says, then these, because you said the things are written aforetime are written for our learning, so we can build our faith through the works of, in the histories of other men.
Right, because we believe everything in this book. A lot of people, when you read a story about the miracles of Yahweh Shai, or even the miracles in the Old Testament, these people these days, their minds are so closed that they can't believe it. They can't fathom something great like that happened. Bringing someone from the dead, fire coming out of the sky. An angel killing, how many was it? 80,000 people.
Hey, Elijah had to rain fire. I think 3 times.
The people of this world, their minds are so closed that they can't believe this.
They'd rather make up some make-believe shit. And just take the for face value of the
right.
Dealing with John, Apostle John, which he was the only one that wasn't killed in the true fashion like the other apostles were. You read up on records of certain historians. They actually recorded in the history that Domitian, before he banished him to the Isle of Patmos, he tried to kill him by boiling him in oil.
Yeah, I remember.
And when they boiled him, they realized that his skin wasn't like it didn't affect him. He didn't die. So it was basically like a miraculous thing, just like how the Lord preserved them in that fiery furnace. They boiled him and they couldn't kill him. So they chose the secondary punishment was all right. Was put him on the island.
Leave him alone.
Put him over there in the salt mines. So hey.
So we
stuff like that. Hey, have faith, man.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
So in Daniel, I'm gonna start at verse 20. Daniel 3 and 20. It says, and he commanded. No. 19. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the former, because why was he mad? Because they wouldn't bow down to his image, like the image that we're supposed to try to bow. Forced to bow down to, right? Parallel is a beautiful way to speak.
That was a physical bowing down on one knee, but this is more. It's physical and but it's you really worshiping this whole new system, and when you bow down, that's when you take that karagma.
It says verse 19. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. It says, therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 17 times more than it wont to be heat. So they turned it past the
its limit, really.
Past the limit. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And that's when you're supposed to insert where they took out the Song of the Three Holy Children, which is really a prayer.
Yeah.
When you read that, you see why they took that out.
Yeah, it's way more detailed, man. For brothers that haven't read it, read it, man.
You know, praising Yahweh Shem Yahshua right there. You know, worthy to have them escape these things. But for time's sake, we keep going. It says, verse 24, then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonied and rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, did not we cast three men bound in the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, true, O king. He answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the fourth is like the Son of the Most High, Son of Yahweh. Right? It says, then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and we've been talking about that armor, which when you put this full understanding of the truth on, you know the power of prayer. Right. You understand how much prayer actually, truly works.
The power of the name, man,
is what stamps it and you know, solidifies it.
You know, Jesus Christ, Allah, all these false gods, you know, our people call on, they're not going to save you in that day. Nope. It's only one name that man shall be saved by.
You
the
have
Israelites
to
may
earn
be saved by
the right for that moment,
right?
You know, by your works, whereby ye have believed, right? It says, 26. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire, and the princes, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their heads singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them.
Hey, that's a standard.
Yeah, it set up the standard.
Standard right there.
Beautiful. Yep. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, blessed be the power of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who hath sent his angel, capital A, right, and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word, and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree that every people, so they were literally put in the furnace of adversity, right, and made it out. It says, therefore I make a decree that every people, nation, and language will speak anything amiss, amiss against the power of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort. Yes. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So it shows you that the humility came when they got bound and put in there. They went through that fire of adversity. They made it out through the power of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. And they showed their belief in that prayer that they were singing.
And it showed you that Nebuchadnezzar, he feared the Most High. He knew that he couldn't do. There's no other power that can deliver like that.
Yep.
So he essentially bowed down to Yahweh Shem Yahshua.
Yep.
You know,
and exalted those men.
Right.
He said, change the king's commandment.
He was confounded.
Sure.
You just tried to make these men worship your false idols.
Yeah.
But they was willing to die worshiping their God, and you saw what their God just did for them.
Right. Hey, but we know, Esau and Nebuchadnezzar is two different beasts.
Yeah.
Once the miracle started